So this is my Scouts of the World Award project on the Giraffe Conservation Foundation. So these are just pictures that we took as a collective over there. Just gonna slightly over there. Okay. So what is the Scouts of the World Award? So it's only for those that are 18 to 25, so network members. And it is actually available in 50 plus countries. It involves focusing on three areas, which is peace, environment, and sustainable development. So the projects that we decided must be based around those three areas, but they also have to include the sustainable development goals. So there's more on that in a minute. So they have to do the award, you have to do a discovery event, which I did, turns out, in 2023, so like years ago. And I did it at Lower Grange Farm. We did it over a weekend. And funny enough, the pictures from that weekend are actually on the Scouts of the World Award website, so I'm slightly famous. And to be fair, you have to plan a project, get a mentor, and then do the project, which is 80 hours long. I've actually changed my project about 6 times, so I've had quite a few different ideas, but finally got one that I was like, yeah, no, this is the one I want to do, and got my mentor, which was Alan, but also Lena. So yeah, the project you have to do over 80 hours. And that does include Discovery Weekend, doing the project, reflecting on it, everything in total. And then you have to spend some time reflecting and putting together a presentation and presenting it. It took longer than I actually thought it was going to, but thankfully I allowed a few days to do it. And then obviously you have to get it signed off. You obviously develop skills along the way, so some of them are at the bottom there, as you can see. But we also discussed this throughout the presentation. So as I mentioned, the Discovery Weekend. So mine was the 17th to the 19th of February 2023. Thankfully, Alan allowed us to stay in the rooms, so we didn't have to stay in a tent in the freezing cold. As I said, picture of me online, famous. This is actually when we have to try and make a lion using the puzzles, which is very, very hard. So this was actually ran by Alan and Norris. And it was roughly 20 hours because we did some on the Friday, all of Saturday, and then about a day, half a day on the Sunday. It was like afternoon we finished because we had some that travelled all the way from near Scotland down for that weekend because they're crazy. And this basically just talks about the award, what it entails, what is expected of us, but also what we have to include in the award and why it's so important. Another one, famous. So what did I learn from that weekend? So first time I'd ever heard of the SDG goals, if I'm being honest, because it's not something that's really spoken about, especially not at school. And I know Scouting is now starting to get it involved again due to Alan. But at the time I hadn't really heard anything about it. So we also spoke more about the award and some examples of projects. So some of them were Kent examples, some were wider examples. And then we obviously spoke about the themes of peace, environment, and sustainable development. We also spoke about how they can connect to both local projects, but also national and international. So, for example, some people from our group were trying to focus on just their group ones. Some were expanding wider. I've obviously gone international. So, yeah, and it's allowed us to get the skills or knowledge to do the planning and the management of the project. So as I've mentioned earlier, the Sustainable Development Goals. So there's 17. They were changed. So there used to be different ones, but these are now the ones that they are working towards by 2030. That sounds weird. So there's 17 that we're hoping to get towards to make the world basically just a better place for everyone and everything in it. So they are applying to all countries, and the goal is that everyone actually works together to get towards them, to help both the rich, the poor, animals, people, the environment, everything. As it says here, it covers issues like poverty, hunger, protecting the planet, equality, health, and peace. So what was my project? Again, another photo taken by our group. To gather data for the Giraffe Conservation Foundation. whilst in Botswana to increase awareness of the importance of conservation of giraffes, and then work with leaders, network members, and explorers to support my project by collecting data. So the Giraffe Conservation Foundation is the team that I was working with basically to do my project. So they are the ones that realised that there was a massive decline in giraffes and found the devastating facts that, for example, giraffes have gone extinct in 7 African countries. And through their work, they have actually, as it shows, they've made a comeback in giraffes. And obviously, hopefully, we're hoping that gets better and continues to help with the conservation. So how did I do my project? SMART technique was the one that we were taught on the Discovery weekend. So my SMART technique was obviously my specific was the giraffe conservation. My measurable was to record all the giraffes spotted in both written and picture format. So the picture format is we had to take a picture of the right side of the giraffe, which was annoying because sometimes the giraffes didn't play ball and decided to show us their left sides. Which is why it was important as well that we got the written information that we could so that we could send off both together to help the conservation foundation even more. My attainable was to work with the local, as in our guides that we had, as well as working with volunteers like Lena and things, as well as the scouts that came with us. My relevance is sport conservation of an endangered species. And this links to the SDGs of life on land, partnerships, and climate action. And then time-based was to complete data collection whilst in Botswana. So, as I've just mentioned, the goals that my project links to is life on land, which is number 15, protecting giraffes and their habitats directly. Climate action, which is number 13, conservation of ecosystems, and help adapt to climate change. And then partnerships, which is number 17, because it was collaboration with the local community to ensure sustainable impact. How did I meet my 80 hours? So before I went to Botswana, I actually did quite a lot of research. I think I've got like an 8-page document, I think it is. So I actually did some research on Judy and Helena and the Thule Wilderness. And then I also did some research on the Giraffe Conservation Foundation, why it's such an important thing, what they do, how they get their funding, what their goal is, etc., how they want to get the information, stuff like that. Thankfully, when I got to Botswana as well, Lena knew a lot about it, so we kind of worked together to do it. So then meetings with my mentors. So I did, I think maybe 2, I think I've got written down, meetings that I had with Alan before I went to Botswana. And then I obviously had the meeting with Lena once there at the start, and then we had a couple throughout the trip. Discussing the importance of the project. So actually, whilst I was in Botswana, a lot of the young people, especially explorers, I think it was more being nosy, was actually wondering why I was doing my project compared to why the other 3 were doing a different one. So it was discussing the importance of why we were doing taking the pictures and writing down the information. Encouraging the information and photos. Everyone seemed to get stuck in with the photos. Not everyone seemed to get stuck in with the writing of the giraffes, but I guess it's kind of difficult because even me, like Lena said, unless you're from Botswana and you've lived here for years and you're like the guides that just know these animals, you're going to struggle to put some of the information down. I think we even struggled just by telling if it was a female or male just by its ossicles. So, yeah. And then me and Lena spent a bit of time collecting the data from everyone, organising it appropriately, trying to upload it, which was a task and a half. So we did a folder for right-hand sides of giraffes. And although it's not requested, we did do a folder of left sides of giraffes because eventually the Giraffe Conservation Foundation will start asking for that as well. So we've kind of got a little bit of a head start and we've just started creating a left-hand side one as well. And then the written data, we've organised it in a way that they can send it off and it will make complete sense to the foundation. And then reflections of the project. So actually, I'm still continuing doing the reflections after this presentation because, for example, on Monday with my beavers, I'm actually doing a endangered animal night where I'm going to be talking about the giraffes and things like that. So unfortunately, it's come after the project, but it's still continuing. So my hours, I've had to do rough hours because obviously I didn't sit there and count how many hours we spent on drives and sitting around the water holes and things like that. And my reflection actually took a little bit longer than that. So, but it with the rough totals, it does add up to over 80 hours. So how I planned the project, I did research before the trip. I did meetings with Judy and Lena. We did the giraffe census sheets, which is an example. It's a bit blurry, but I was kind of in a rush, so took that picture when I could. So it literally just talks about the date, time, location, GPS, the gender of the giraffe, the rough age group, which again Lena said was quite difficult, so understood if we couldn't get it. Photo, anything that was distinguishing. So I know one group found a giraffe that had quite a big scar on its neck, and one found one with an ossicle, which was actually flopped forwards. So like their distinguishing features, and then notes was like, was it part of a group? Did it have a young giraffe with it? Was it doing something peculiar? So that communicating with the group the information. So again, asking them to do this, taking the pictures, discussing the importance, and then planning how to gather the data with Lena. Is my project sustainable? Yes, because to be fair, I feel like it did educate the young people. And like, for example, I'm doing it with my beavers on Monday, so it's continuing to educate younger generations because they're only 6 to 8. It's increasing awareness because before the project, I didn't actually realise that giraffes were endangered. Sounds really stupid, but I think because it's one of the animals that people know of Africa. They're like, oh, elephants and giraffes. You don't realise that actually they're endangered as well. I think people think more like pandas because they're stupid and can't look after themselves, whereas giraffes are quite good at looking after themselves. So yeah, increased awareness, and I think it has changed attitudes as well, especially after the anti-poaching talk we had as well. I think everything came together has changed attitudes, and it's allowed obviously for the conservation program to gain more data. So I don't think mine's made a massive impact, but it's helping towards it. And if everyone did a little bit, it would be such a huge impact. So I did unfortunately face some challenges. One of them was I actually lacked the support from others in the group. So I had a couple of people thinking that because we had the other project going on, it was not worth their time or it wasn't worth as much time, or that my project didn't have the same importance, things like this. And people thought I was literally just collecting photos of giraffes and thought, oh, that's completely different because obviously the other project that was going on whilst we were there was quite a physical one, which I think people felt they had a lot of a bigger part in, if that makes sense. Some people weren't writing down the information, which after I pushed about halfway through the week, more did start coming in, which was good. But yeah, some people just because they didn't know what the information was, for example, if the giraffe was a male or female, if it was a younger one or an older one, because they couldn't tell whether it was darker or if it was lighter, all that thing. People just decided it wasn't worth writing it, or if they didn't know the location, that seemed to be a big one. For example, my guide, when I asked him where we were, he said on the road. So, so it does make it a bit difficult because obviously at home we tend to have like 3 words or Google Maps and we can just pinpoint exactly where we are. But obviously over there when we had no signal, that was quite a challenge. The giraffes didn't like coming out. We tended to spot a pattern that they tend to came out around sunset time, it was dinner time. So it was really helpful actually when the guides started taking us out more at that time because we started seeing more, and I know a lot of people started seeing like groups of giraffes as well. I know my group saw one right near Mapani Dam, so that was very cool. There was about 9 of them there. Another one was the giraffes not playing ball and showing us their right side. So they either loved to hide behind bushes, like this one, showing us their left side, showing us their back side, or or just showing us their face. So which is quite difficult because the whole point of the data is the Conservation Funds Fat Fund Foundation wanted the right side because giraffes are like us. We obviously have individual fingerprints. Giraffes have individual patterns. So each one's unique, and the right side, it means that they can put them up onto a data storage thing, and they're using not chat, you're using AI. That's it. They're using AI to record it all, and if more people upload pictures and it matches, they can see whether giraffes moved, if it's changed, whether it's gained giraffes, whether it's lost giraffes, that sort of stuff. And like it says there, unable to capture due to obstacles such as trees. Or hiding behind other giraffes, which makes it quite difficult. So yeah, there were a couple of challenges. How did I overcome these? So I had an open discussion. So I, for a couple that felt that my project wasn't as important as the other one going on, I actually sat there and spoke to them and said, this is why it's important, this is why I'm doing it, this is the information I've got. And I basically pulled up the research that I'd done before the trip, which is very helpful. I then encouraged more information to be recorded. So after I'd done that sort of plea, I did receive quite a few more, which was helpful. I then also spoke to a couple of the guides about where the most common places were to spot the giraffes, which was really helpful because then they started taking us past those places. And I know my guide especially, he did that and he was fantastic. And bless him, every time he saw a giraffe, he stopped, even if it was going to make us late for dinner, because he knew it was my project. But it was so worth it. We still took the pictures of the giraffes, like I said earlier, even if it was the left side. So like this one, where it's pretty much the whole left side on display, that will be really helpful. Not for right now, but in the future when they start requesting the left-hand side. So what we've done is Lena's got two folders under Kent Scouts on the computer, one that says right side, one that says left side. So she'll upload the right side for now, and then when they start asking for left side, we've also got the left side ones. The only difficulty they're going to have is how to match up the right and left side to the same giraffe, because obviously if each side's slightly different. But that seems something that they've got big enough brains to sort out. So, and then what I did as well is asked multiple individuals from each group to take pictures. So I know that we all agreed that we were going to share our pictures after the trip, which we have. On the trip, I asked people to still take pictures because, for example, I think this one was taken with a camera, someone that's got a really good camera, but then someone's also taken one with a phone and it's still really good quality. Or sometimes the camera's been better, sometimes the phone's been better, sometimes the people at the front, because they haven't got as many trees in the way, got a better view than the people at the back, and all over, like the right hand, vice versa. So we asked multiple people and it got to a point that actually I think I had about 60 of one giraffe. But it's fine because it meant I got to pick the best one. So yes. The skills I gained. I gained a greater understanding of conservation programs, and actually how they all do different work and they all require different things. I also learned communicating ideas clearly. So I think from the start of the trip, I didn't really communicate very well with the whole group. I probably would have been beneficial to sit down and talk to everyone at once, discuss my project, explain what I want, like what I needed to do, what I needed their help with, that sort of thing. But I think when I then came face to face with the challenges, after then communicating, it became clearer and people understood. So I also found a solution to the challenges. Like I said, asking multiple people to take pictures and things, and staying motivated. I think after the first few days, it was a bit like, I don't think I'm going to have enough to do my project because I didn't see any giraffe for the first few days. But then we started to see them a little bit more and a little bit more, and actually I was like, okay, I think we can do this. So yeah, that was staying motivated was probably quite helpful. I think as well, other groups were coming back and going, "Oh, we've seen one," so like just keep going. Like we're all going to different places at different times. Like we'll get enough to as like together we'll get them. So I was like, okay. Um, Areas for improvement. It would have been really good if we could have potentially engaged with more local people. Obviously, I know we were like in the middle of nowhere, but it would have been probably really beneficial to have those have grown up and lived around the area, because they also probably have a lot of knowledge. Collected more detailed data on the giraffes, behaviours and habits. So like one of them that we picked up is that they were coming out more at sunset because of the fact that they wanted feeding. So maybe I should have done a little bit more research into that sort of area of things and not just the conservation programme itself. Like I said a minute ago, share more information with the people on the trip and how they could have helped. That would have helped improve things. And what I could have done is sat with Lena probably, and spoken to her about a way of keeping it going with future groups that are still going. So obviously I know there's a group there at the minute. It could have been something that we passed on and started making like a little thing out of it. So it wasn't just our group. It could have been every group going that contributes to it. So what does it mean to be a global citizen? Um, so it's awareness and understanding of global issues, which again previously I had no clue on really. I think when you're a young person, you kind of just a bit egotistical and only focus on yourself. So I think especially now that we've got like the Earth Tribe badge and things, I think it really benefits the young people and the environment around us. Knowing that our actions affect people and the planet everywhere. So again, I think that's starting to come into light a little bit more. Valuing different cultures, communities, and ways of life. Yeah, Botswana I think was quite a big one. Like I've been to Africa before, and that one was working with the people in the community, like the locals, and that one focused a lot more on culture. However, I feel like this one was nature and like how does nature work if people aren't around. It's weird but cool to see. Like nature does just survive without humans. Like we sort of take over. They can happily survive on their own. So that was pretty cool to see. The next one, taking steps big or small to make the world more fair, peaceful, and sustainable. I don't think we realise how much we have an impact, and it doesn't have to be something huge. It can just be small things that make such a big impact. So, like for example, me having this talk on Monday with my beavers about endangered animals, actually, it might inspire them to go and do stuff, like conservation projects. Or, I mean, I know, obviously, I went to Ghana in 2016. No, 2018? 2018. Yes. I know that I came back and I didn't shut up about that trip. And now we've had quite a few people from our local area go on these Africa trips and also make a difference. And that's just me from talking. So yeah, being a global citizen, it encourages others, and seeing the local actions like contributing to global goals. So I know again, me talking about the Scouts of the World Award has also encouraged a few more people to look at it and potentially do it themselves. So yes. Did I connect back to the Discovery Weekend? Not gonna lie, it was over 2 years ago, so trying to sit here and remember it was a little bit difficult. But yes and no. I know some people have said that theirs completely links back, and I've seen some that say no, theirs doesn't completely link back at all. I think mine does and doesn't. I think no, because mine was so long ago, I didn't really talk to the people in my group that were there. I know they contacted me a little what like a couple of years ago, but it wasn't really to do about the project. It was to do with other things. So I didn't really have like the support of my group. But to be fair, I don't think they would have understood the project anyway. So I think it would have been fine. And because I changed my project idea so many times, all the stuff that I planned at the Discovery weekend kind of went out the window. So it didn't impact in that sense. But it did because I thought about the SDGs and how it links to, like my project linked to them. I have spoken about the weekend to other people and how it links to my project. And I applied what I learned at the Discovery weekend, such as planning, teamwork, and leadership, to my project. So yeah, I feel like mine was a bit of a yes and no. Was the project a success? Personally, I'd say yes, because it helped raise awareness about the giraffe conservation, not only with all the people that were there, but again, I'm bringing it home and teaching the younger people, and I'll probably have to do it for the explorers as well. So I've probably got quite a few groups lined up that I'm going to have to talk to. It contributed to protecting biodiversity and habitats. So obviously the project looks at why giraffes are in certain areas. Is it because of the food? Is it because of poaching? Is it because of the weather? Is it all things like that? Collected useful data and improved conservation knowledge. So again, the data I've collected is being sent off to help the foundation with conservation of giraffes, and linked to the goals like the SDG projects because it involves 3. So I feel like it linked very well with them. Any questions? These are some of the pictures we took, and
Oh yeah, that's a nice photo to finish on.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well done, Kat.
thank you.
Very well done. And
you've
spread the word
reflected really well.
about giraffe.
Yeah, I think you've got the ethos of what the award's about, Kat, and you've also reflected very, very well on your experience, the whole experience. And you're saying, you know, did it link back to the Discovery weekend? Well, yes, it did, and it didn't, but that's fine, you know. So
Yeah.
I'll be making a recommendation that you get the award. And I think that the only thing I would say is that it's not too late to keep it sustainable. So what you've started, I'm sure Judy will carry on with the volunteers.
And it is sustainable because as long as we take it in and capture it, we then submit it. So it's not a one-off. So it's definitely sustainable.
Yeah,
as long as we've got people here, they will continue the work and
But
gather the data.
I like the fact that you researched it before you went. You did. You addressed issues when you were there, and you reflected on it when you get back. So that's what it's all about.
Can I just add as well that it was really well presented? I think you were very concise, very clear, and yeah, I think you did a first class job of that. That was great. Well done.
Thank you.
Very, very well done, Kat. Very well done. You actually got what it's all about to run a project like that.
Yeah.
And that can be implemented in small pieces or big pieces or in many countries. That's exactly what it needs. So very well done.
Thank you.